Good morning and welcome to my channel History with Hansa. This is Dr. Hansa Das with you, and in today's presentation we will talk about the society or the social life of Harappan civilization. In the last two videos I have talked about the name, terminology, antecedents and important sites of the civilization, and also about its material characteristics. In this presentation we will focus upon the social life of the Harappan civilization. Now, an important characteristic of the Indus civilization was its urban life, and the rural areas not only supported but often contributed to the social cultural development at the urban level. And when we talk about social planning is implied in the planning of cities, which reflects acute awareness of the requirements of community living and public health, which we have talked about when we were talking about the material characteristics of the civilization, particularly the town planning. So when we talk about the social life of the Harappan civilization, it is basically from the archaeological finds that we reconstruct the society of the period. Now, while talking about society, we shall focus upon the following things: social stratification, dress styles, food habits, language and script, warfare, and the main arts and crafts which they created in during that period. So, first of all, let us talk about social stratification. Now, the Indus society included a number of classes like the administrators, officials, priests, traders, and merchants, craftsmen, landlords, peasants, herdsmen, and laborers. And the social position and stratification is reflected in the dwellings and disposition of the dead bodies in the graves, the manner in which the dead bodies were uh, disposed in the graves. That throws a lot of light upon the social position and stratification that was prevalent in the society. Now, the rich and elite lived in big and palatial houses. As we have seen in most of the Harappan cities, there was a citadel or an acropolis which was occupied by the ruling class. The others lived in smaller houses, the lower town, which was occupied by the commoners of the civilization, while the laborers, etc., lived in barrack type buildings. Then we have the peasantry and the laborer class also, which was perhaps the largest number in the society. So there was a lot of social stratification, which is evident from most of the archaeological finds that we have come across in the civilization. Then the dress styles. What did the Harappans look like, and what kind of dresses did they wear? The uh, the best way of finding out an answer for this would be examining the terracotta figurines and stone sculptures surviving from that period. And another way of knowing would be examining the skeletal remains found in some of the Harappan settlements. Now, the study of the skeletal types shows that the Harappans look like the present day North Indians. Their faces, complexion, and height were more or less similar to the present day people living in those areas. We can have some idea about their dresses and fashions by a study of contemporary sculptures and terracotta figurines. Men are mostly shown wearing a dress which would be wrapped round the lower half of their body, and the men used many more ornaments than the modern Indians. For example, they would be wearing ring, bracelets, ornaments around their neck and hands. And then we also have mirrors made of bronze and combs. Mirrors of bronze and comb, which were made of ivory. They have also been discovered. Then next we come to the food habits. We know very little about what they actually ate. The Harappans of Sindh and Punjab ate wheat and barley as their staple food. Those who stayed in the towns of Rajasthan had to be content with barley only. Then the Harappans of Gujarat in places like Rangpur and Surkotla preferred rice and millet. They got their supply of fat and oil from mustard, possibly ghee, etc. We do not know whether they were familiar with sugarcane to supply them sugar. Seeds of jujube and dates found in the Harappan sites also indicate their preference for these fruits. Now, apart from these, they seem to have consumed a whole range of wild nuts and fruits, but it is difficult to particularly identify them. They were eating peas too. Apart from this, the Harappans seem to have relished non-vegetarian food as well. Bones of deer, bears, sheep, and goats have been frequently found in the Harappan settlements. Fish, milk, curd, etc., were also known to them. The next aspect of social life is about language and script. What language did they speak and what did they read and write is again not very clear to us. We have discovered the written script of the Harappans, but we have not deciphered it as yet. Some scholars believe that the language written there is ancestral to the Dravidian group of languages like Tamil. Some other writers would like to think that it was ancestral to an Aryan language like Sanskrit. However, one noticeable thing about the script is that it did not change all through the life of the Harappan civilization, and this indicates that the Harappan script was not in common use. Perhaps a very small section of privileged scribes had a monopoly over the written word. Then, about warfare, we know that they played dice, and we also have evidence for the fact that they did fight. One important indicator is that at the time of the emergence of the Harappan civilization, many early Harappan sites like Kotiji and Kalibangan were burnt down. Although an accidental fire could destroy large towns, but it is more likely that some of the settlements were burned down by victorious human groups. Then there is the evidence of some skeletons lying scattered in the streets of Mohenjo-daro. Human societies from times immemorial have disposed of the bodies of their dead in some ordered fashion, and it is natural that the Harappans would not leave their dead to rot in the streets. So, obviously, some extraordinary conflict is indicated when the Harappans did not get an opportunity to bury their dead. Now, the presence of citadels and fortification around many Harappan towns also indicates a need for protection against outsiders, and we have found many uh, copper and bronze weapons, which also indicate that some kind of warfare was practiced or they fought. Then we come to the main crafts, which also reflect the social life of the Harappans. Studies of pre-modern civilized societies show that most of the people in those societies were engaged in agriculture. However, quite a few Harappan townsmen were engaged in various kinds of other activities like arts and crafts. Bead making was one of the favorite activities of the Harappans, and in settlements like Mohenjo-daro, Chanhu-daro, and Lothal, a fairly large number of Harappans were engaged in this work, that is bead making. Since a variety of stones like carnelian, lapis lazuli, jasper, etc., were used for making beads, it is likely that there were specialized bead makers for each type of stone. Some other Harappans specialized in making stone tools. Apart from them, groups of potters, copper and bronze workers, stone workers, builders of houses, brick makers, and steel cutters must have lived in Harappan towns. We can guess from these things. When we talk about the Harappan civilization, we are basically referring to seals, bricks, pots, and other such objects surviving from those times. These objects presuppose the existence of their markets. So, we have talked about the social life of the Harappan people, and we find that apart from their efficiency in creating a well planned city, they were also very efficient in different types of arts and crafts. They uh, practiced warfare, and they had different kinds of dress styles and food habits, etc. All these throw light on the society of the period, on the social life of the period. Now, the next video will concentrate upon the economic life of the Harappan civilization. So, this is all about society, and if you have liked the video, please share it and also subscribe to the channel. Thank you for watching. Thank you.